Oba Femi replaces Drew McIntyre on SmackDown, the best and worst of WWE SmackDown. The WWE copies Roman Reigns and CMPunk segment with Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. The real reasons why AJ Lee joined Team Rhea Ripley for WWE Survivor Series. The reason for WWE's apparent Shane McMahon Raw snub. Triple H cancels plans for Jey Uso's heel turn. Zack Ryder's return exposed how badly WWE failed him. Problems with John Cena's final 2 matches exposed. Let's dive right in. The best and worst of WWE SmackDown. The latest episode of SmackDown saw feuds and storylines shift gears as Survivor Series is just days away. Several major things happened on the show last night, including the War Games build and the progression of the Last Time Is Now tournament. It was an action-packed night in Denver, Colorado, where Triple H gave fans a delightful show. Friday Night SmackDown has been under the fans' radar lately, due to its declining quality and lack of substantial elements. However, the penultimate episode of the Blue brand felt different. The company delivered a memorable night that provided an adrenaline rush for the WWE Universe, hyping fans for Survivor Series War Games. Let's take a look at the best and worst of this week's episode of SmackDown. Number 1. The best, revealing the final members of Women's War Games match. Rhea Ripley and Asuka were short of one member in their respective teams in the Women's War Games match. However, Triple H didn't delay it any further and revealed the final 2 participants last night on SmackDown. AJ Lee officially joined the babyface team, while Becky Lynch aligned with the heel team for Survivor Series. The fact that WWE revealed it this week without any further tease was indeed the right move. Things had already become obvious, and there was no point in stretching it to next week. Besides, only the final episode of Raw and SmackDown are left before Survivor Series, and revealing the last 2 participants will help WWE showcase a proper feud. Number 2. The worst. The WWE Tag Team titles are non-existent. It's clear that writers are holding off on the big MFT Wyatt 6 match for the WWE Tag Team titles until after the business with Sami Zayn has concluded. However, that doesn't mean the title holders should be missing from SmackDown. The last time Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy defended the titles was on October 10th ahead of Crown Jewel in Perth. The creepy faction has barely appeared on programming. When they do, it's in the background or for a brief backstage moment. It's hard to focus on every champion each week, but this has been a consistent issue ever since the Six won the belts. Number 3. The best. Letting Carmelo Hayes advance in the tournament on SmackDown. Carmelo Hayes battled Bronson Reed on the latest episode of SmackDown in what was the first round match of the Last Time Is Now tournament. In a shocking turn of events, Hayes defeated the Oscilla via countout. Letting the 31-year-old advance in the tournament was the right call, as he desperately needed this huge victory more than Reed. Melo is currently riding on a red-hot momentum and is a promising name to face John Cena in his retirement match. Additionally, he is not involved in any storyline on the Blue brand either. Therefore, Triple H pushing him in the ongoing contest will help Carmelo Hayes be in the spotlight. His victory over Bronson Reed will give him a strong push in his current run. Number 4. The worst. Roman Reigns and CM Punk don't back up their teams. After the predictable reveal of Roman Reigns as the final member of Team Punk on Raw, he no-showed on SmackDown. The best in the world did the same thing, failing to show up in Colorado. The Tribal Chief and Punk aren't competing in the advantage match, so they could have easily appeared on SmackDown. Reigns doing so would have meant more since he'll probably take off after War Games yet again. Brock Lesnar not appearing makes sense because he's the ultimate free agent. Sky, Rhea Ripley, Asuka, and Kairi Sane, who are members of Raw, accompanied their teams. Number 5. The best. Showcasing a gradual decline in the Rhea Ripley-Charlotte Flair rift. One of the things Triple H did right on the latest episode of SmackDown was showing a meaningful truce between Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. Both superstars were at odds with each other. WWE did not desperately rush their storyline to put them on the same page. Instead, the company showed a gradual progression to that last night. Flair and Ripley didn't hug each other or show redundant affection, even though they'll be on the same team in the Women's War Games match. Their rift was carefully put aside for the time being and for a mutual cause. Hence, Triple H dealing with the whole situation so sensibly was one of the best things from last night. Number 6. The worst. Multiple issues with the SmackDown women's division. Every episode of a wrestling program should feature at least one female contest on each show. The latest episode of SmackDown came and went without 2 women facing off in an official match. Bookers continued focusing on the War Games teams, giving the build 3 full segments. That's fine, but not having any wrestling bouts and just a brawl is a weird look. Charlotte Flair's waffling is also an odd decision and is done every year for the cage match. If that wasn't bad enough, the division's major champions, Jade Cargill and Chelsea Green, were relegated to a quick backstage segment. Focusing on War Games is understandable, but treating the WWE Women's title just like the Women's United States title is a huge misfire. Number 7. The best. Adding a new layer to the Cody Rhodes-Drew McIntyre rivalry. Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre will both compete against each other in the Men's War Games match at Survivor Series. This week on SmackDown, the Scottish Warrior unleashed a brutal backstage attack on Rhodes in his truck, leaving him wrapped in blood. This brutal segment has elevated their rivalry to a whole new height. Triple H did the right thing by showcasing this backstage segment, as it has now added more excitement to the Men's War Games match for the upcoming spectacle. Besides, McIntyre's attack on the American Nightmare has unraveled a new layer in their heated rivalry that WWE could capitalize on to resume their singles feud following Survivor Series. Number 1. The worst. Truly treating Cody Rhodes like Superman. Whenever a heel attacks a face, the hero usually misses a few weeks or months of action. SmackDown opened with the revelation that Drew McIntyre attacked Cody Rhodes on his bus. It made it seem as if the American Nightmare would miss War Games, which would have created doubt around whether Team Punk could win. Returning next week would have made sense, but that's not the direction writers took. Instead of building suspense for a week or even for the day of the PLE, Rhodes returned less than an hour later during the Carmelo Hayes-Bronson Reed match. His interference cost Reed the victory, just so he could appear superhuman. The McIntyre attack seems more like a stubbed toe instead of a storyline tactic to build sympathy for the heroes. The WWE copies Roman Reigns and CM Punk segment with Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. Last year, right before Survivor Series, fans saw an iconic segment between Roman Reigns and CM Punk where they agreed to go to war together for one night only. WWE seemingly tried to recreate this with two top women. For those who don't know, Roman Reigns and CM Punk weren't exactly the best of friends. However, last year they were united by Paul Heyman, and it was the wise men who pulled the strings to get Punk to join Team OG Bloodline at Survivor Series War Games. This turned out to be a game-changing decision, but the segment itself was short and tense. Punk made it clear to Reigns that he was only in it for Heyman and his loyalty to him. This year, CM Punk and Roman Reigns will be on the same side again, but united against Paul Heyman and not for him. Back to the November 21st, 2025 edition of SmackDown. Alexa Bliss pushed Charlotte Flair into a room where Rhea Ripley and Io Sky were. Last week, Flair shockingly walked out of her Survivor Series commitment because she hadn't resolved her issues with Ripley. Seemingly trying to recreate the aforementioned CM Punk Roman Reigns segment, the Queen and the Eradicator had a cinematic-style sit-down, where Rhea Ripley confessed that despite all the issues they might have had, it was all about proving who was the best. She said she could be trusted for one night to go to war together, and Charlotte Flair agreed, saying she could be trusted as well. They shook hands to make it official. Thanks to the insistence of Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair will now be going to war. There is still the question of member number 5, and if Raw is anything to look at, then AJ Lee could be that member, as Rhea Ripley approached her for a conversation. One thing is for sure, things are getting interesting as we get closer to Survivor Series. The real reasons why AJ Lee joined Team Rhea Ripley for WWE Survivor Series. WWE is currently working tirelessly for its final premium live event of the year, Survivor Series, War Games 2025. Fans are highly excited for the card, especially for its traditional War Games bouts. The company will host 2 War Games matches, one for men and one for women. The Monday Night Raw from the historic Madison Square Garden saw the men's bout getting locked, with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns joining teams as the 5th members. Ever since she returned to the Stamford-based promotion, Lee has been involved in a feud with The Man. AJ teamed up with her husband and the current World Heavyweight Champion, CM Punk, to take on Becky and Seth Rollins in a mixed tag team bout at WrestlePalooza 2025. Lee returned on Raw and cost The Man her strap. AJ being on the babyface team and Becky on the heel side would put more mainstream eyeballs on their rivalry, as it will be a non-title rivalry between two icons of their eras. The 38-year-old female legend attracts a massive fan base that supports her blindly and beyond. Her inclusion in the War Games bout at Survivor Series 2025 Premium Live event has added more star power to the event, with WWE stars like Becky Lynch, Rhea Ripley, the Black Widow, Nia Jax, and more booked for the traditional match. It can arguably be the most stacked bout ever. The reason for WWE's apparent Shane McMahon Raw snub. The reason for Shane McMahon not being shown on WWE Raw this past Monday night has reportedly been revealed. Shane O'Mac battled The Miz at WrestleMania 39, but suffered an injury during the match. Shane McMahon was in attendance for this past Monday's episode of WWE Raw, which featured John Cena's final match on the red brand. The show took place at Madison Square Garden in New York, and several celebrities were shown in the crowd during the show, including Stephanie McMahon. According to a new report from Fightful Select, sources told the publication that the celebrities shown on camera were promoting projects, and Shane McMahon was just at the show visiting. The report also noted that the 55-year-old was welcome at the show. John Cena teamed up with Sheamus and Rey Mysterio to defeat the Judgment Day in a 6-man tag team match in his final match on Raw. It was reported earlier today that Sheamus suffered a shoulder injury and will be unable to continue competing in the Last Time Is Now tournament to determine Cena's final opponent next month at Saturday night's main event. WWE star The Miz recently explained what happened to Shane McMahon at WrestleMania 39. Speaking on The Rich Eisen Show, the A-lister noted that McMahon tore his quad, and he had to have a conversation with the referee about what to do next while the camera was on him. Eventually, Snoop Dogg got involved and hit the former WWE champion with a sucker punch and defeated him in an impromptu match to rescue the segment. So we get into this match and he does a leapfrog where he jumps and I kind of go under him and he lands, tears both of his quads. So I know when he goes down, I'm like, all right, he's injured. The camera's going to be on me. So the red light is on me. Now I have to basically relay to a referee kind of what to do to the truck so they kind of know what to do and what we're going to do next, he said. It will be interesting to see if Shane McMahon gets the opportunity to appear on WWE television again down the line. Triple H cancels plans for Jey Uso's heel turn. After Saturday night's main event XL, it seemed like an OG Bloodline member's heel turn was just around the corner. However, he has remained a babyface, and it now seems like WWE's chief content officer, Triple H, and the creative team have subtly canceled plans for the change of character. Jey Uso was visibly upset and angry after losing the World Heavyweight Championship match to CM Punk, and was even seen talking to Paul Heyman backstage. However, considering the recent turn of events, his heel turn might have been delayed for the time being. The former World Heavyweight Champion is in contention to to be John Cena's final opponent at Saturday night's main event XLI. He is a part of the Last Time Is Now tournament and has advanced to the quarterfinals by first defeating The Miz. He is set to face Rusev in the quarterfinal, and his involvement has largely been as a babyface. Since he has been winning so far, it seems likely that he will continue to maintain his current persona for the time being. Paul Heyman's Vision will battle the Usos, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Cody Rhodes in a War Games match at Survivor Series. The babyfaces have had issues with Heyman's team for months, and it seems likely that Uso will continue to be one to maintain the polarity. However, things might change if the reunited OG bloodline and the two world champions are unable to get the win. The record tag team champion has been very vocal about not taking advice from his brother Jimmy or cousin Roman Reigns. Over the last few months, he has brought out his aggressive side and has spoken about wanting to do what is best for himself. A potential loss in the War Games match could be what drives Uso to betray his allies. Alternatively, a defeat in the Last Time Is Now tournament could also add fuel to the fire and push him to turn on the fans by turning heel. Zack Ryder's return exposed how badly WWE failed him. Former WWE manager Dutch Mantell recently spoke about Zack Ryder's return to the company. The wrestling sensation made a surprise appearance on last week's episode of SmackDown. Ryder was the surprise entrant in the Last Time Is Now tournament. He showed up to face LA Knight in a first-round matchup on the Blue brand. Despite making a name for himself in the independent circuit as Matt Cardona, he showed up under his old WWE ring name of Zack Ryder. During this week's Storytime with Dutch Mantell podcast, the wrestling veteran mentioned that Ryder had a very different look from his time with the company. He recalled that when the star was part of the roster, he rarely made any TV appearances. Dutch pointed out that WWE barely used the star, and he always put over other stars. So when he came out, a very different look from when he was there last time. Zack Ryder was there, but you never saw him. I know he went through a year or two never being on TV, which is unheard of in the wrestling business because if you're gonna pay a guy, are you just gonna pay him to make your live events? I mean, he's great in the ring. You couldn't even call him an enhancement talent because he barely made the talent list because you never saw him. When you did see him, he was always getting beat. After the match, Ryder shared a short clip on social media. He mentioned that it had been 5 long years since he last performed in the WWE. The indie god noted that he had been working hard all these years, trying to figure out a way back to the company. He also shared that his SmackDown appearance was a one-time shot, but he was open to options about rejoining the company. He also shared a moment of mutual respect with his opponent, LA Knight. On the latest episode of Storytime with Dutch Mantell, the veteran manager admitted that he felt Ryder was winning the match. Mantell pointed out that WWE has put LA Knight through a start-stop booking, and it seemed like the megastar was losing once again. However, he was surprised to see Knight take the win. Dutch appreciated both stars and felt Ryder did a remarkable job during his return. When I saw him out there, and I'm sure I'm not the only person watching, that expected a different result. I saw he was against LA Knight, and LA Knight is one of those talents that they got behind for a while, then got off the train, and then they put the train back on the track, and they now tried to go again. So, when I saw that Zack Ryder was back against LA Knight, I naturally assumed that LA Knight is going to get beat. He continued. But he won the match, which I really appreciated. I also thought that Zack Ryder did a great job in a losing effort. WWE is monetizing the returns of Dolph Ziggler and Zack Ryder with merchandising deals. Both stars have their t-shirts for sale on the WWE shop. Problems with John Cena's final 2 matches exposed. WWE icon John Cena has 2 more dates remaining on his retirement tour. He is the current Intercontinental Champion in the company. Cena has been involved in a rivalry with Dominic Mysterio on Monday Night Raw. He won the IC title from Dirty Dom on the red brand in front of his hometown fans in Boston. The following week, he teamed up with Sheamus and Rey Mysterio to defeat the Judgment Day members Dominic, Finn Balor, and JD McDonough. This week on Jim Cornette's Drive-Thru, veteran wrestling manager Jim Cornette felt that it would be fine for Dominic Mysterio to do the honors for John Cena at Survivor Series, War Games. He felt that a loss to the Cenation leader at this point in his career would not harm the Judgment Day member. Jim explained that it would be better for John to lose the title during his last match on his way out. He felt that the retirement tour would be tarnished if the legendary wrestler lost his last 2 matches in a row. I don't think it hurts Dominic to lose in San Diego. Oh, it's too close to my hometown. And I think it would be, I don't know, it'd be kind of blah if he won it back. But does he do something to hamper Cena for his very last match in the process of getting disqualified or coming up short from actually winning the belt? I don't think it's necessary for Dominic's long-term success that he has to win in San Diego. I wouldn't have John lose his last 2 in a row because then it makes each one mean less. This past week on Raw, John Cena agreed to put his title on the line against the self-proclaimed king of the luchadors. The 17-time world champion will make his final PLE appearance in San Diego against Dominic Mysterio in a singles match for the Intercontinental Championship. His final match will take place at Saturday night's main event in Washington, D.C. on December 13th. He will face the winner of the Last Time Is Now tournament. While speaking on TMZ's Inside the Ring podcast, former world heavyweight champion Mark Henry claimed that Joe Hendry, who recently signed a contract with WWE, could challenge the Never Seen 17 after his final match at the TV special. Even if it was Gunther, I would be satisfied, but then I still would want dessert. I would want Joe Hendry to come out and say, I didn't make it in the tournament, but before you leave, I want you to allow me the privilege of being in the ring with you. When Joe Hendry gets in the ring, you would think that John would be like, listen man, I'm done. I just had my last match. John is a soldier, and I would have Joe Hendry say, John, I don't want to fight you. I wanted to have a match with you because I wanted to do this. And have Joe Hendry lay down on his back and tell John Cena to cover me, so I had a match with you, and you beat me on my record. Oba Femi replaces Drew McIntyre on SmackDown. Drew McIntyre and SmackDown general manager Nick Aldis have been at odds for months. Aldis was furious at Paul Heyman for bringing McIntyre back from suspension through the War Games contract last week. He made his feelings clear about the situation this past week as well. Aldis called Drew McIntyre persona non grata, indicating that the Scottish Warrior could be removed from the blue brand owing to his consistent issues with the general manager. On that note, here are 5 stars that could replace the former World Heavyweight Champion on SmackDown if he indeed gets fired by Nick Aldis. The SmackDown main event picture has been left significantly depleted following Raw's move to Netflix. As a result, the company could decide to call up Trick Williams from NXT and have him debut on SmackDown. Williams has been an incredible heel on the developmental brand and would be a great replacement for McIntyre on Friday nights as a villainous character. Sticking to the idea of NXT call-ups, Nick Aldis could bring in Oba Femi to bolster the roster. The ruler has dominated the developmental brand during his reign as the NXT champion and recently returned to challenge Ricky Saints to a rematch. However, it seems like this will be the 27-year-old's final program on the black and silver brand. If that is indeed the case, then he should make the move to the main roster and stand out by joining SmackDown. It was recently revealed that former TNA World Champion Joe Hendry has signed a full-time contract with WWE. Hendry has made 2 appearances on the main roster this past year. He made his debut as a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble and then faced Randy Orton at WrestleMania 41 as his surprise opponent. While he has been making regular appearances on NXT owing to the brand's partnership with TNA, he could now make the move to the main roster. Since Raw is already packed with star power, he could join SmackDown and establish himself as a top star there. While Drew McIntyre is a despicable heel and Penta is one of the most beloved babyfaces in WWE, there is a case to be made for a trade. The former AEW star could move to Friday nights to reunite with his real-life brother and former tag team partner, Rey Fenix. The man with zero fear has been a major star on the Red brand since his debut earlier this year. However, he could finally win gold by moving to SmackDown and potentially claiming the United States Championship. Earlier this year, when Raw moved to Netflix, LA Knight switched brands as well. While the megastar made a name for himself on SmackDown, he hasn't quite breached the main event picture on Monday nights. Instead of wasting his star power, the creative team could replace Drew McIntyre by bringing back Knight. The former United States Champion would also be a great heel if they decide to turn him into one. And in doing so, he could capitalize on the fan backing he is currently receiving by potentially winning the WWE Championship. However, it remains to be seen how things pan out and whether he will indeed return to the land of opportunity on Friday nights.